Hang on, hold that. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. It is February the 7th, 2020, y'all. Thank you preemptively for joining me, those stragglers that'll come in, and for, of course, the people who come in and pile on later on watching the recording. I appreciate all y'all, and I look forward to y'all's feedback and things. It's an interactive news research agency that we got going here. All right, we're going to talk about Newsweek. In fact, as it turns out, there are rivals, there are opponents, or whatever word that you might want to use. There are nemesis. Newsweek, they're making it be known. All right, we're going to talk about that certainly tonight. We got so much things to talk about that there's no way that we're going to talk about all of it, and it's all very, very important. To the point is where I might even have to make another live stream tomorrow, or either tomorrow or Sunday. All right, whenever it becomes appropriate. But in the meantime, we got so many things. Like I said, there's all sort of cases that we're following up on, and we're keeping our ear to. Okay, so with that being said, most of the broadcast, or a good chunk of it, a great portion of it tonight, is going to be about exactly what the title says, right? Newsweek, they want some problems. They're going to find some problems, right? And I don't mean that in a physical or a violent sense at all, obviously, but all right, it's a little bit of time to shout some people out. Obviously, Bart fine, and there's going to be others. In the meantime, we're going to set the mood, all right, as we typically do. And the thing is, I just came across, y'all, and you're going to want to hear this. You're going to want to hear it and see it. I just came across right now a cover song like we typically do, and it's going to be very appropriate for tonight. And in fact, as we go to it right now, I see that somebody's up in the building. Thank you. I appreciate you. Welcome. I don't mean to scare you off, all right? We're about to do this cover song. Shout out to this guy, Grant Beck, right? It's not too long, and you're going to like it. You're going to really like it. I don't know if you're familiar with Presidents of the United States of America. That's a band from a while back. I don't know if they've been doing stuff recently. And they got some classics, some straight up classics. And this one right here is done by Grant Beck, and it is dedicated to the man, Bart Fine. And I think he knows what I mean. Okay, so shout out to Bart Fine, and he may or may not be, who's to say where he's at right now. He's pretty much all over the place. He's everywhere at once. But shout out to everybody in Georgia as well. I think you're going to find this song very appropriate. And shout out to Newsweek, and I'm going to go ahead and play it. Alright, we're going to do some buffering for a little while, you guys. Grant Beck, though, look at this guy. Take it all in. He's the next Taylor Swift as a male.
Moving to the country, gonna eat me a lot of peaches. Moving to the country, gonna eat a lot of peaches. Moving to the country, gonna eat a lot of peaches. Moving to the country, gonna eat me a lot of peaches. Peaches come in a can, they were put there by a man from a factory downtown. If I had my little way, I'd eat peaches every day, like the candy in the world. peaches, peaches for me. Millions of peaches, peaches for free. Millions of peaches, peaches for free. Millions of peaches, peaches for free. Look out! Yeah, that was Peaches. I don't know.
That was Peaches. Grant Beck, that was Peaches. Oh man, shout out to everybody. And like I said, especially Newsweek. All right, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Going to try not to get buffering. We got limited capabilities up in this mug. But I do, since we're on the topic, all right, since we're doing a victory lap anyways, since we're letting it be known that we got direction and we got people who's paving the way for all sort of different adventures for us in the future. I wanted to shout out, let's see if we can work YouTube, Bart Fine, of course. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put it on blast right now for everybody to see. They're on YouTube. I don't know how to work YouTube necessarily sometimes, but okay, I think it's right here. All right. So
it's being confirmed.
For those of y'all who don't know, all right, I'm going to play some of this video clip here right now. And just set the stage. For those of y'all who haven't heard, Newsweek was talking mess. We were talking about that on the live stream. They were talking mess to our good friend and contributor, someone who's all over the map on the internet. I don't know if you noticed, but he's everywhere at once. Bart Fine. It is kind of ridiculous. You start to wonder if there's clones of Bart Fine, and certainly there are, but are we ready to know about it? I'm not sure if we're ready to know about it. So anyways, Newsweek, they got all hurt. They were feeling real mad. They were feeling all some sort of way about Bart Fine. They called him out. They didn't say his name, and that's kind of disrespectful, and I want to put that out there. I've been trying to get a hold of Bart Fine loosely. I'm very busy. He's very busy. We're trying to get on the same page, or at least I'm trying to get on his page right now. Because he's caught the spotlight. They were afraid to mention his name, all right, for this and that reason. Maybe they didn't want to give him even more popularity. Maybe they wanted to pretend like they didn't know. Of course they know. Of course they know about Bart Fine, all right? So they made a whole article about it. It's going to make Bart Fine more popular than he already was, and for good reason. And General Shepard's in particular. And actually, it's going to be more General Shepard's. It's going to work in reverse of what Newsweek would rather have it work. But here's the thing, they're crossing the divide. There's some people who actually believe Newsweek, and they're out there. And a divide between everybody who does not believe in anything that resembles a Newsweek. So anyways, Bart Fine, as he is a fixture on InfoWars broadcast, be it from Alex Jones, be it from Owen Schroyer, be it from all sort of different people, and hit that thing, band.video, alright? All day, every day, band.video. Forget this video. Cut this off right now and go to band.video, alright? You're going to find way better content. I don't have, all sort of resources like they do, and they get down to the nitty gritty. They're not always right, but that's not the point. The point is that they know where the hell they're going, and it's the hell away from all this madness and chaos that we're about to speak on, and pretty much we speak on every night. And as I would like to just remind everybody, don't panic, all right? It's not about panicking. It's not about losing your cool here. It's about recognizing how silly and wild and disastrous these people's lives are. These people over here who's talking mess, their lives are disgusting, right? And destructive. And we can see that. We look at them and we see that. We say, oh, that's disgusting. We're disgusted by this. But we turn around and we look in the mirror and we say, hey, how do we change ourselves and this and that? All right? We're going to get down into that deep philosophy stuff a little bit later. But without further ado, here's Bart Fine being heard all around the world and making it be known, slapping. That's the thing about it. Newsweek heard this and Newsweek saw this. Newsweek is lamenting, like, just generally speaking, people at Newsweek are wringing their hands and they're seething and they're thinking about a name right now. The name is Bart Fine. So without further ado.
Newsweek lied in their article. They said there was hundreds of thousands of views. Just one of the General Shepherd channels, my brother JoJo, give him a shout out, He had 1.6 million views just since October. That doesn't include another General Shepherd and me. And there's a lot of us. We're like an army. We're a team, not just me. I just want to say that.
All right, so as you can already tell, it's about to be epic, all right? And I like this format, especially how InfoWars does it, where they cut right to the chase. Right at the beginning of the video, they get you gripped, and you're like, what just happened? Bart Fine was calling Newsweek out? And you're like, what just happened? And then they go into like the context, the build-up, what led up to that moment. And so we're going to skip past that part just for right now. You can, of course, go to General Shepherd, Bart Fine. It's not hard to do. On the internet, they get banned all the time. Notice when they're banned and then go and resubscribe to them. All right. So, and then try to give some money. I know I got some money on the way as far as this movement. All right, pretty soon. The thing is, you can support the cause, and Bart Fine is being attacked. All right, it's quite clear on Newsweek. So anyways, we're going to cut right to the chase, but of course you can go to this on YouTube, or you can go to band.video. They cannot stop you, but they're going to try desperately to, and you can laugh in their wrinkled up faces as they try to stop you. So, but anyways, we're going to skip past the build up for right now, just as time is a concern, and also I don't want to be buffering, but you're going to want to hear this here. I forget where it starts, but we're going to start it off right here. Owen Schroyer and the man Bart Fine. If we can get it to stop buffering.
At this point, they're writing stories about how people are putting up YouTube channels and still getting our content out there. I know that you've called in the past to talk about this, Bart in Georgia.
Yeah, first of all, I do want to claim responsibility for the General Shepherd channels, or most of them. Alex Jones, I've never met Alex Jones. I'm not collaborating with him. I did it independently. And I just wanted to thank the communist-infested Newsweek for giving the General Shepherd channels and Bart Fine free advertising. Next time, don't leave out the part where you are afraid of Bart Fine, etc. And InfoWars, of course, and all that.
Well, and I love it, too, because you just take a lead role as an example of how you can be the, Paul Revere yourself, how you can turn into the broadcaster. And, now they're attacking you. And it's hilarious, too, because there's all these other channels out there. Obviously, yours are some of the biggest and the most unrelenting when it comes to sharing this information. But they really try to shut them all down. And it's just funny to me how many other Bart Fines there will be, how many other General Shepherds there will be thanks to your leadership. And, hey, I mean, I guess, yeah, congratulations. You're now, target on your back from the commies over at Fake Newsweek. So, welcome to the club.
Well, anyway, Newsweek lied in their article. They said there was hundreds of thousands of views. Just one of the General Shepherd channels, my brother JoJo, give him a shout out. He had 1.6 million views just since October. That doesn't include another General Shepherd and me. And there's a lot of us. We're like an army. We're a team, not just me. I just want to say that.
Well, they hate it because you become like proxy channels that kind of just pop up here or there. They try to shut you down. You pop back up. They try to shut you down. You get back live. And still what you do is still more popular than anything Newsweek could ever imagine doing. Newsweek could be promoted and focused and have all this marketing and everything on their YouTube channel and put up their content. Nobody would watch it. They're total losers. And so, Bart in Georgia kicking their ass in the information war drives them crazy. They don't know who you are. You don't live in New York City or LA. It drives them crazy that you have more power than them.
And I'm going on the offensive. I say everybody join me and let's have Newsweek shut down because they are truly liars.
Well, I played it on the air. Was that yesterday or Monday? I can't remember. Where I'm saying, hey, let's use the new tool that Twitter put out there to suppress Trump supporters, saying, report information that's misleading about a political election. That's all the damn Democrats put out. We should be reporting every tweet from AOC, every tweet from Pig Talib, every tweet from Bloomberg. All these people do is lie about Trump and mislead on an upcoming election. So if Twitter wants to give us that tool, why wouldn't we use it? I mean, shove it down their throats, man. Screw these people. Because, folks, it's like if you're about to get in a fight at a bar or a party and you know you're with 40 people and the person trying to kick your ass is too deep.
That's exactly right, Owen. That is exactly right. And Bart, fine. I gotta say, in my guesstimation, that is exactly correct. All right. And I mean, really, it is a game of numbers when you think about it. It's quite simply numbers, right? And as much as they like to control numbers, and we've seen them manipulate numbers, they really can't do it. When it's landslide victories, for example, like I said, if you want to win an election, these days when you're, say, Republican or whatever, you better win in a landslide. And I don't mean Rhino Republican, and I think you know what I'm talking about. You better win in a landslide because those numbers are overwhelming. All right, so in that very same sense, the numbers that General Shepard, Bart Fine pull in are overwhelming, seeing as they're being shadow banned and this, and that, and the third. Anyways, they would be some of the most popular things on YouTube if they were allowed to be on YouTube. But if they were allowed to be on YouTube, so would Alex Jones, and he would be one of the most popular things on YouTube. But they can't allow it. Right? People like Newsweek, and they admitted to personally in their either off time or during business hours going to YouTube and flagging all of the videos. They admitted to it in their danged articles. All right, so we just want to take a victory lap over them because when you do look at the numbers, you realize it's staggering, especially seeing as they pump up their numbers, and we know they pump up their numbers. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out. And that being said, like I said, we're about to run through some stuff. I'm going to keep an eye on the comments to let us know what's being said. Here's the thing. Obviously, this wave that's being started by not only Barfine, not only JoJo, there's another dude. I know that there's another dude, but there's more than that, I'm sure. People on YouTube alone. And who's to say with all these other different platforms, you're going to have a few on every platform that are doing the Alex Jones thing just to make it convenient for you. Not only Alex Jones, but like a dozen other people who are affiliated with InfoWars and that whole thing. And different various subgroups and stuff that all, I mean, we don't even have time to mention the hundreds and hundreds of people who have been on InfoWars, experts in their field and this and that. Anyways, it's extremely popular and it's being banned, and you gotta ask yourself why that is. This is a broadcast of asking ourselves why that is, basically, but we know the answer. We're rhetorically asking ourselves why that is, even though we know the answer. There's going to be some people that come across this broadcast, these series of broadcasts, and they're going to be like, what's going on here? What's the point of this? Right? It's to see the weird, wild stuff that's being hidden from us in the news and noting how the news sucks, and everybody knows that it sucks, right? Who in the comment section is going to come out here and tell me that the news is accurate or is not lying purposefully in order to deceive and manipulate in a dastardly way, it seems? Or at least that would be the theory, that it's in a malicious type of sense. So with that being said, you know, there's more than we could talk about tonight. We might even stretch it out until tomorrow night or Sunday night, whenever I get around to it. But we're going to go hard. We're going to try and see what we can get past and under our belt, because it's like trying to bail out the ocean, right? If you think you're going to do it, it's not going to happen. But, you know, if you just steadily mob through it, perhaps you'll get something done, all right? So we got all these screenshots. I just want to show you all these, right? Look at all of them. We were on a live stream earlier today, actually, and we were looking through a lot of these and stuff, and we were talking about them, all right? It's weird, wild stuff. And right now, you see all these pictures? Here's what I want to do. We're going to mob through them. You probably already know about them, or if you don't, you can look into them and stuff. We're going to mob through them for maybe a couple of minutes. We're going to go for like 2 to 3 minutes on all these, all right? And so if you have a thing where you might honestly start falling on the ground and having a seizure, and I'm not joking about that, we're about to get very frantic, right? And visual. So this is for the people checking out the visual. This is weird and wild, but this is all over Instagram. We may or may not have time at the very end of this broadcast to go down a rabbit hole that I've already dug out for us and prepared of this kind of nonsense, but actually more so and even worse than this. All right, let's see. Let's switch to this. This is that ghoul and somebody's child. I don't know. All right, so we're gonna race through it. This lady, we already seen this. We might look into this sort of thing. This is being alleged. It has nothing to do with Leo Zagami. Leo Zagami's a good man, or I mean, you know, he's a man of God. Man threatens to blow up Broward unless he finds Trump, and this was a while back. He's got a funny face, dude. Honestly, I like his face. It reminds me of Notorious B.I.G. Anyways, he was wrapped in flowing robes like an Arab and stuff. This guy, he was accused of something, and although this seems real bad, the cheerleader thing, that seems real bad. He's only being accused of it. Let it be known, I don't know this guy from Adam at all. I've never met this guy. He looks a certain way, and I wouldn't trust him as a cheerleading coach. Not for 1 second would I trust him as a cheerleading coach. And anyways, Tucker Carlson, he's being ragged on all the time. Some people hate his guts. San Antonio homeless encampment returns 2 months after it was cleaned up. We're starting to have a homeless problem. It's starting to represent Austin, or like reflect things such as San Francisco, and that's a terrible idea. I think we need to crack down on it. I'm not sure how much our mayor really can appreciate that. A Maine paper mill's unexpected savior, China. Oh, it turns out China's trying to become people's savior around here. In fact, all over the world. Let's see if they can do it. Gang forced man to eat his own oh man, this is just ridiculous. I don't even want to hardly read this. But this was a while back. This sort of stuff does happen. We call it regularly. It does happen. Gang forced this man to do that and to do this, all right? And you can see his face if you want to read it. These are the gang of people. That looks like a horror film. Like, this is the news, all right? I don't know if you heard about this. Maybe this should be national news, right? Perhaps New York Post is holding us now. We can appreciate them. Man rotted from the inside out after eating a gecko at a party. There, his testicles were swollen. I don't know how I came across. You know, honestly, sometimes you pick certain words and you click the news tab on Google. Trust me, Google is lying to you. That's for certain. But like I said, overwhelming force. Certain stories are so overwhelming and stuff that even as much as Google wouldn't want you to know, this kind of stuff is actually happening. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. And so when they do their mediocre stuff, when they do their mediocre stuff, like it doesn't compete with the wild stuff that we're talking about, right? So anyways, like I said, 2 or 3 minutes, exposing kids to drag isn't abuse, all right? So just in case if you didn't know. Oh man, that's a different thing. Hold on. Again, what? Oh yeah, that's just a funny thing that I said. All right. Ghislaine Maxwell hosted a tea party in her underwear and threw a puppy across. I totally forgot about this. All right, we might talk about this sort of thing later. All right. In fact, we're definitely going to bring up Ghislaine Maxwell. Hispanic Miami captain, police captain sparks community backlash by claiming that he is black. All right. Is that a problem? I guess. Miami PD suspends white officer who begins to identify as black. All right. Some people can do it. Some people can't do it. It's hard to figure out who that is. All right. Rise in the far right visits to former Nazi concentration camp. I believe that's all fake news and made up. All right. Pretty sure of it. Massachusetts serial pooper arrested after police catch her defecating in parking lot reports. Okay, let's see. In a lawless stretch of Mexico, child soldiers as young as 6 are being drafted to fight crime. Hey, by the way, about 4-hour drive from right here where I'm sitting, a little while back there was like a big old gunfight, and over 20 people died in the gunfight. All right, so it's like, that's the real thing, man. It's what's going on in our backyard. On this day in history, Parkland shooting, this and that about Parkland, we're probably going to bring that up. We're going to talk about Nicholas Cruz. San Antonio man reportedly tried to hide reefer up in a bag of Cheetos. All right, and could you put it past him? That's the different thing about Live Oak, this and that. Race through these things. Former Bexar County Precinct 2 constable arrested. I haven't been following closely this this story. I am aware of it, and I am aware of the allegations, different various allegations that this lady had, and we're probably going to talk about them in detail. But let me tell you, the allegations themselves are of a scandalous nature. All right, quite scandalous. Let's see. Donor helps Luna. This is a young baby, a little baby. Everybody's pro-life here. There's a little baby. She was born without a face, basically, no skin on her face. Right? So people are desperately trying to help her and figure out different remedies. The idea is we need to know what we're doing, not do things all willy-nilly, but have it on a fast track, not stifle innovation and stuff like that. She's fixing to go to Russia to see if she can get some new innovative treatment, and God bless her, and I hope that that goes very well in Russia. And I have nothing against people in Russia, and nothing at all, nothing at all against people in Russia. But, it's weird how, like, we're supposed to have something against people in Russia. San Antonio megachurch pastor's brother accused of sexually abusing a child for youth. All right, so we have this sort of thing. I mean, you see that sort of thing. That's local news. All right, Parkland people, they're very uninteresting. They're very unattractive. They look greasy, and they look like they smell a certain way. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that I'm bullying them. They're human beings, and I love these people. I honestly do. I love these people even if you don't. All right, I love these people, to include this person. All right, love her. She's a liar, though. He's a liar. Unfortunately, she's a liar and stuff. Everybody's a liar here, especially this one. Thing is, I love these people. Gosh, I love them. And I wish only the best for them and a long, long, prosperous life for them. Much longer than mine. But also, they're liars. Anyways, 36 immigrants found concealed inside Texas dump truck. That sort of thing does happen, all right? That's just when you catch it. Most of the time, you don't catch it, all right? Proxy InfoWars YouTube video attracted hundreds of thousands of views. Your headline is a stupid, silly, disgusting, stupid lie, all right? Because you're liars. Your headline's a lie. You can't even get past the headline without it being a lie. All right, so you're liars. Bart Fine called you out. I don't know if, like, I must have just reminded him, because here's the thing. He knew full and well that they're getting millions of views when you add them all up. I mean, it's countless numbers at this point. Hundreds of thousands. Yeah, believe it. Believe your news. Columbine. We're probably going to talk about Columbine because I've been looking into it, you guys. Evacuees for the corona. Here's the thing. I forgot to mention, and I'm remiss because I failed to mention earlier. Of course, we were talking about Bart Fine, right? Spotlight's on him tonight. But also, there is his theory of the coronavirus, in which I don't know if it's an evolving theory or if it's moved around, but of it being a bioweapon, right? And certainly that's a possibility, and I would venture to say that on a personal note, the way I'm seeing it, it's a probability. Like, that's the most likely thing, pretty much, what's happening. And whether it leaked out or they accidentally did this or that, and they didn't know what they were doing, whatever they did, sounds like that is something that happened, like that's reacting like a bioweapon. Or maybe everybody's hoaxing and making it up, and the whole, you know what I'm saying, like as a tactic, some sort of strategy in order to do something in the United States. I sincerely doubt it. It looks like they're losing their shit over there. And I've heard stories, and they might be all made up, but I've heard crazy stories that do remind you of tales from, say, the Holocaust and World War II and stuff like that. Could people be making it up? Yeah, they could be. Yeah, they could be. Are they making it up? It's kind of interesting. We got so many stories to follow up on tonight that we're not going to get through all of them. But it reminds me of one. When you're talking about bioweapons might have slipped out on these people in China, honestly, from a personal note, I don't know how y'all feel out there, but I always wonder about China. I'm thinking about it all throughout history. some people claim, and I tend to believe them, that there's been all sort of people in China who have died due to communism, due to people such as that Chairman Mao guy, all right, and different other various people who sold their people out. They sold all their Chinese people out, and they, let them die and stuff. If they didn't kill them, a lot of them just starved to death due to the stranglehold that communism will have on you inevitably. That is the whole point of communism. And so the people all die, and they die by the hundreds of thousands, and then they start dying by the millions. And I've heard it reported as millions. And millions of Chinese people have died unnaturally throughout, I don't know, the past a couple hundred years have just died. And yet and still they have so many people. That's what's just numbers. That's facts in front of everybody's faces. They have so many people, a stupid, ridiculous amount of people. What kind of culture breeds that sort of thing in the face of all sort of woes and devastation and starvation and stuff like that? Still, yet and still, y'all keep having babies after babies after babies. And there's so many babies that y'all have, right? And so many people that y'all have. Right, and it's kind of amazing. To the point is, the culture must be entirely different. How in the world do you quarantine 11 million people allegedly, at least? I'm hearing stories of people being shot and executed. It's like, dude, yeah, they could be making that up, but are they making that up? Shot, executed, like burnt up. This and that, just gotten rid of. Numbers fudged. People in vans. Is that real or is it not real? Are people making that up? Is that possible that there could be execution vans and this and that, people covering up and people trying to run across different borders and stuff like that and trying to escape? And a lot of these Chinese people have escaped. Like, the stories that I'm hearing are like this, and it could be wrong, but a lot of Chinese people had already escaped from China because it's a very big place. It's hard to regulate everybody. So they escaped. They're actually in America right now. Could potentially have corona and be spreading corona. But they're just escaping for their lives. They are truly refugees at this point, if allegedly the stories are correct. And maybe they're not correct. Maybe none of that's happening. Hey, who's to say? I'm not. I can't call it. All right. But I like to hear from y'all on that because, of course, Corona is like a running thing that everybody be talking about. And forget about these screenshots, all right? I think we pretty much got through them and stuff. That's just suffice it to say there's a lot of stuff to talk about, all right? But we're going to dive into some stories right now. Hold on. Okay, so we got about, say, 20 or 30 minutes, some odd minutes left on the broadcast, all right? I'm looking at right now in front of my face some stories to go into that we've already been down, all right, so that you're probably familiar with them. There's a lot of them. We're going to see which ones we can get to. I mean, it's over a dozen of them, and I'm not even sure in what particular order we should go into, all right? But, all right, so with that being said, all right, I will take suggestions up in the dang comment section, but with that being said, we're just going to dive into whatever, like, we're just going to wing it. All right, like I said, they're all equally important. All right, you know what I'm saying? And we're gonna, they're all important, you guys. All right, so the first one we're gonna do actually is we're gonna go ahead and Google, because it'll be real quick, Carla Faith. All right, for those who don't remember, it is a lady. She was being accused and gosh darn, I don't know how to spell. All right. So anyway, she hit a whole gang of toddlers to the tune of, I forget how many toddlers. All right. It's like 20 something, 30 toddlers in a secret basement in Colorado. All right. And I've said it so many times that it almost sounds mundane at this point, but she was hiding babies in a daycare, supposed daycare, way more than she could afford to, way more than she was licensed to, way more than she could take care of legitimately. And she was hiding them in a secret basement, which nobody knew about. All right. What this amounted to was a misdemeanor crime. All right. And the reason that we keep bringing her up is she's only like a microcosm. Rest assured that there's many different Carla Faiths operating all throughout the country, dare I say, in every single state. There's going to be a Carla Faith doing something or other in that state, at least one of them, and in bigger states, a number of them, all right? So, anyways, with Carla Faith, she does weird, wild, out of this world stuff that some people can't even compute, and that she hides little babies in a basement and lies about it and jumps over fences to get away from police. None of this am I embellishing or making up. She runs through alleyways, her and her associates, with just dozens of toddlers, straight up toddlers, and they keep getting away with it from California to Colorado. They've been doing it for decades now and getting away with it. And her and associates are being charged with misdemeanor crimes currently, misdemeanor child abuse crimes, in which whatever might get probation. Oh yeah, I bet you go to jail for a couple of months, get out, you move to a different state, you network as you networked before. That's the only thing you know how to do. You're going to get out immediately, start networking in a different state to get away with whatever it is with it that you can get away with in that different state. All right? And it's going to be just that easy because these states don't have communication between each other. That's something that we established a long time ago. So that being said, we already know that Google's lying. But at the same time, it's funny how telling it is to go to Google. And we might actually entertain if somebody has a suggestion for a search engine that they find to be immaculate, that will not throw all sort of just weird imagery at us. Let me just say that, because I've been on some search engines that's like, oh man, it's all full of pornos and stuff, man. It's just I don't know why, but overwhelming with pornos. And so okay, in the meantime, we're looking at Google because they can't suppress all the news. Of course, the news does leak out. Of course, this story had been known. Of course, yes, there was drugs involved. Everything about the situation was entirely illegal and immoral in just about every single way. All right, they're being charged with misdemeanor child abuse. It's going to be a slap on the wrist. It's going to mean nothing. They're going to slip and slide about the state if they want to. Continue operating or doing whatever drug-addled thing that they've been doing before. I mean, that's not to say her associates. Her associates are just like random like drug users probably in the area who are willing to do whatever just so long as their employer does not rat on them for doing all sort of drugs and just barely looking after these children, like just barely making sure that they're still alive. Meanwhile, all sort of, it's like a million questions, of course, that we've already asked. All right, like how in the world can you take your child to a daycare like that and get your child back? Of course your child's been traumatized, and what you don't notice that your child's been traumatized, that's something that like you're too busy to notice that. Like quite honestly, that is a concern. But the number one concern is what we're looking at right here is that Google, if you go to their news thing, you're going to find 1 month ago they were talking about it. Parents of toddlers, this is 1 month ago. I don't know what that is. A woman formerly charged in daycare child abuse. That's a misdemeanor child abuse. That was 1 month ago. And so you're seeing a trend, obviously. They got other stuff that has nothing to do with it. Kind-hearted school children hand a woman's missing purse. That has nothing to do with what I Googled. But, okay, basically, everything's going to be from a month ago. Basically, nobody's concerned about it, not at all. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if you attempted to create a secret basement and then tricked and tomfooled people into smuggling their toddlers into a secret basement in which, of course, they can't get cared for properly. Of course, it's a secret. I mean, you do things in secret for a reason. Okay? And so, like, you might want to investigate or something like that, but it seems like, nah, they're trying to play it off like, oh, this is a thing that happens. She didn't realize that she had over triple and quadruple the amount of children that she should have had. She didn't realize, oh, she was hiding them in a secret basement, and when we came to the property, she was like, what children? We don't have children here. There ain't no children here. She didn't realize she's just lying to us in a sinister way, keeping children in a secret basement like a damn Scooby-Doo. and she didn't realize she was doing it. Okay, she knew exactly what she's doing, and then y'all are just totally participating in it, and then y'all are totally sweeping it under the rug and not even talking about it. That's who y'all are. That's who y'all are. And I'm not talking to the people out here that's watching this video, obviously, but that's who they are. Alright, Bart Fine up in the building. Hey Bart Fine, actually, we were talking about you a little bit earlier. The thing is also, I want to get around to it. Weekends are usually my best as far as getting anything done. But I want to get around to seeing if we can do FaceTime on the Facebook, and I don't think we'd be able to do that live necessarily because I don't have a Facebook account, but perhaps we could record it, us talking about perhaps this bioweapon, whatever it is that we have to get down to the nitty gritty of, and perhaps seeing if it's possible that the technology can actually provide for us that platform to do that, because I think people would like that and stuff. And anyway, it's just an idea. So in the meantime, we're talking about that. That's a complete abomination by the news, all right? And, let us know about any other abominations that you might be aware of that we're not talking about, obviously. An invitation, free invitation. But, in no particular order, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into Parkland, all right? Just because that's another kind of thing. It's the same exact kind of thing, actually. See the comment? Call me offline and record it. Yeah, that's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna see if I can call you. Oh wait, call you on the phone. Hey, let me know if it's on the phone or Facebook or whichever. It don't matter. But we're gonna see if we can get it done. All right, and then put some sort of, I don't know, like technically we don't even need imagery and stuff like that. We could do like we'll think about it later. But yes, I will do that probably tomorrow. Alright, probably tomorrow I'm going to call you offline. I'm going to call you offline on the PH. But here's the thing. I'm going to talk about Parkland right now. Just real briefly, not very many developments about Parkland. And so I just wanted to touch upon it. But it's kind of appropriate that we do so. Oh man, don't know how to spell. We're looking ridiculous. Alright, so they changed it for me. Thank you, Google. All right, so Parkland is pretty much the same thing. We just talked about Carla Faith and how you saw those articles, and they were all written a month ago. They all basically said the same exact thing, copied and pasted. Nobody's interested. Why? It almost gives you the impression that people didn't want to. They didn't even want to go through the effort of actually reporting it, right? But they went ahead and copied and pasted it, and this is the same exact thing, of course. And that's pretty much the theme of it all. I mean, that's basically the goal, is to minimize things, criminalize certain people, and demonize people, and get us all up in prison, all right? At the end of the day, Parkland shooter, like this is, for example, if you type in Nicholas Cruz, you're going to see this from 3 days ago. Video shows confessed Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz attacks a jail guard. And that was from News 9. I guess that's the local news. And then you got Sun Sentinel. And that was a week ago. They said video shows Parkland Nicholas Cruz attacking deputy. All right. Video of fight between confessed Parkland shooter, BSO deputy, from 2018. You want to check out the fight? There's a video of the fight. Video shows confessed Parkland shooter attacking Broward deputy. All right. So they're using different words, but basically they're all talking about the same thing. And if you go into it and check it out, of course, they're going to have all copied and pasted basically every last detail. And so this is another one. Video shows fight between alleged Parkland shooter, school shooter. All right, just in case if you didn't know. Like, if you were a credible journalist, you would think about the article that you're about to write. And you'd Google it, basically. You'd Google it and see if somebody else wrote it. And if they did, you wouldn't even bother. You'd be like, all right, they already wrote about it. What's the point of me writing about it? That's what you would do if you were credible. All right, but of course they're doing the exact opposite in that they got it bookmarked on their homepage of whatever little news program that they look up to, and whenever they put out a story, they go ahead and click and copy and paste it and publish it and jumble it around a little bit and say, oh, this is what I bring to you. This is the news. All right, and so they do it over and over, and it has no credibility or legitimacy. And they're talking about dead serious things such as the whole Parkland situation, which sounds allegedly like a heinous situation, all right, involving children in a high school and other people. All right, so but they're talking about it, and they love the ratings issue of it. They love the fact is that it gets people's eyeballs, and it gets people's attentions. All right, the Nicholas Cruz thing, in fact, actually it tends to get people's attention, so they love to talk about it. They love to get the views. All right, they love to get Nobel Peace Prizes and awards and stuff for doing that sort of stuff, and so that's what they do. And they love that part of it. They also hype up those Parkland kids, the alleged victims who never saw a gunshot. They never saw nobody shooting. That's not to say it didn't happen, but it's just to say that they didn't survive anything. They were oftentimes up in different buildings and heard like one gunshot or maybe 3 gunshots. It'll make you wonder how that's even possible, but there are some kids out there who did that who are very annoying and greasy, and it's unfortunate. We feel for them because that might have scared them a little bit, but they're not survivors or anything. Except some of them said they were up in the building and they did get shot, and it's all a very interesting situation, right? But many of them are very annoying, and it's just to say that they're not popular, even amongst the people who disagree with us politically. They're just not popular anyways because they're not attractive. They're not cool. They're not funny. They don't do cool things, right? So, but anyways, back to Nicholas Cruz. They're definitely trying to incriminate him, right? We established this a long time ago, but they're gonna do so to no end. Not only for the ratings, but just to make sure and drive it home that he's an evil person. All right, and they tried to tie him to Donald Trump, but I'm not sure why they're not continuing. I guess because like it's not gonna work out. But anyways, they're talking about Nicholas Cruz attacking the deputy. I don't know if y'all want to see the video because we already checked it out before. Okay, we got Unwrapped by Brenda, and she's just waking up. I'm wondering about Brenda's life. All right, because I know I work overnight and stuff, so I got an excuse. But she said she just woke up. Looks like she almost missed it. Basically, you almost missed it. Pretty much, Brenda, you almost missed it. And it's unfortunate because I'm looking at a list right now that is at least a dozen deep of things that are pretty dang crucial to keep an eye on. For number one, you got Nicholas Cruz right here. And before we just go ahead and move on to see if we can get on to the next topic, I want to establish that why I'm looking at it is because what I'm seeing clearly right here is that, yeah, there's a video of him, quote, attacking a deputy. We learned a lot of things. Number one, we learned he can't fight, and it's not to make fun of him, but he just can't. He's not good at it. He won nothing. Like, he really wasn't, you know what I'm saying? He's a threat. Obviously, everybody's a threat, but he wasn't a big threat. And so the guy kind of tried to punch him around a little bit and stuff like that. But anyways, they tried to make a big deal out of it. And what's interesting about it is they're not shy to tell you that, oh, there is no audio to the build-up. You can't know it's the context of what's being said in that jail. You know what I'm saying? Lord knows is that no matter what Nicholas Cruz does, is that he's in that jail no matter what, right? And so he has to deal with whatever kinds of stuff. Thing is, if you're trying to learn the context of what happened in the build-up to what happened in that particular video, you would have to know what's being said. Right? And isn't that obvious? Wouldn't you know that from a legal standpoint? And if you already knew that from a legal standpoint, don't you already have the technology? Isn't that well established that you could completely audio record everything that takes place in that prison? Of course you have the technology to do that. You're not going to do that because you want it to be whatever you said goes. Meanwhile, for example, before we move on, the officer in question, the jail guard himself, is already being caught up on all sort of scandalous nature in which he pretty much can't really be trusted, suffice it to say. And if you weren't on the previous broadcast, that's because he drives so drunk around town with prisoners in the backseat of his car, all willy-nilly like he's out of a damn comic book, and just driving around drunk as a skunk, getting arrested in another state on police business, delivering a prisoner drunk enough for 2 people to get arrested. All right, that's the kind of scandalous nature that this police officer is documented as being taken part of. right? This one talking about Nicholas Cruz, and we're supposed to take his word for it. And people are going to just reiterate it over and over and over and over because he's evil and you're evil. As soon as they want to do this to you, just as soon as they want to do it to you, right? It's going to be copied and pasted just like this. Just as soon as they want to do it to me, it's going to be copied and pasted just like this. And there's going to be a handful of people out there who are going to understand that we've been talking about this for a while. We know that they're up to tomfoolery. We know all their trickery. All right, and so we want to call it out beforehand. Yeah, they might come get us, but not before we said this stuff all on the internet, basically. And you never know who you might, what's that word, like inspire or whatever. Like, as far as you might get some inspiration, even if it's just a small thing. You never know how far your reach goes, right? As a human being, right? And you're incredible, and I appreciate you, right? Especially as a viewer. Right, but we are going to have to wind it down. We got about 10 minutes. I'm looking at all sort of things. The point is, I can't hardly think of which one's more interesting. All right? Can't hardly think about it. I do want to shout out to everybody's up in Cambodia. All right? For example, just real quickly, let's go to Cambodia and Google it right now. We're going to keep an eye on it. Of course, they got their situation over there in China, and that is that's gonna have a lot of influence and impact on various countries surrounding China, different Asian countries, to include Cambodia, right? And from what I understand, Cambodia. From what I understand, the Cambodian leader actually just went to meet the Chinese leader in some sort of ceremonious thing. We're not going to really talk about that because I have no idea what that was about. All right, but they're dealing with the corona and this and that, and they're trying to quarantine people and keep it like confined and stuff like that. So that's a whole different other deal. But this deal, if you type in Cambodia dogs, it's some serious allegations. And now that I'm seeing it, I tend to not even believe it. In fact, I'd be hard pressed to find. I wonder who actually believes it. Up in the chat, or in the if you view it later in the recording. I'm not sure if this is true, and I want to know if it's true. But it's being alleged that millions of rabies infected dogs. Look, that's in the headline, all right? Millions of rabies infected dogs being slaughtered for meat in drowning pits and this and that, all sort of rhetoric. It's being described as a nightmare from hell. It's being like giving people PTSD. It's giving monkeys PTSD. And I've read through like an article or two and stuff, and it's talking about a monkey that was chained up overseeing this whole operation of a drowning pit full of dogs and stuff like that. It's like, dude, how does that work? What kind of mechanism is that involving a monkey chained up getting PTSD? You could never trust that monkey ever again. I want to know about it, but the thing is, I as much as I want to know about it, I'm pretty sure it's fake news. It seems like it has to be fake news. And then you have people, and they're kind of like copying and pasting about it, probably, or they're putting their 2 cents in. Maybe there's some people who really are genuinely covering, like for example, maybe this one covering some actual things going on. I can't be sure. Thing is, I haven't reached out to my people in Cambodia yet because I just forgot to. But I'll get to them on the weekend, man. I'll holler at them when I have some time to really talk to them about Cambodia and whether or not they have a dog situation at all, and what is the dog policy in Cambodia, just so that we know, not to judge them. We just want to be aware. But there's no way in the world that millions of rabies-infested dogs are being slaughtered every single year in Cambodia. When you think about the numbers, Cambodia is just not that big. I just refuse to believe that. And they got a lot of people. I looked it up. They have a lot of people and stuff, but still, that's a lot of dogs every single year. How do the dogs keep reproducing? And it's kind of like China, like I mentioned earlier.
Low battery.
Oh man, low battery. It kind of begs the question: if y'all are getting slaughtered to the tune of millions every year, how in the world do y'all still keep existing? Like, y'all just keep making babies. There keeps being stray dogs. What kind of world are they living in where there's so many stray dogs that they keep having babies every single year, and y'all have to slaughter millions to the tune of 2, 3 million a year, and you keep doing it, and they keep replenishing themselves. And up in China, they keep having babies, and God bless them. Like I don't have no problem with that. But how do they keep having so much? I mean, China's actually a very big place, and so it's kind of understandable. It's kind of understandable. All right. So as we're winding it down, as we're looking at all sort of things, I'm looking at all sort of things, and they're very important. But since we are winding it down, I want to warn everybody that I kind of like. I want to put some stuff out there so for the people who have stuck around. Kind of a treat. Tonight is not really a treat, to be honest with you. Sometimes I like to bring out a treat, right? But tonight it really isn't, and I just wanted to warn you about that. But it is different, and actually, I was just researching it right before I went on the broadcast. I was researching this specifically because it takes me a long time to figure out how these social media different things work. And so I'm on Instagram because I've had an Instagram application and an account for like months and months. But I don't barely know how to work it or like how to navigate it very well. And I've been learning, and so I was on the Instagram just before the broadcast and continuing to learn. And I was actually scouting out a bit of a rabbit hole. And trust me, I have a little bit of PTSD. To be honest, man, I don't know if there's a medication that's gonna necessarily be effective for it, but I'm gonna look into some herbal remedies, and not reefer freak y'all out there. I'm talking about like whatever, like legit. I mean, it's all legit, but still, to get over this PTSD that I've already been down. Like I said, I had to warn you. Maybe you just listen to it. Maybe you don't want to see the imagery. Perhaps the imagery would get us kicked off of YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Perhaps people want to accuse us of doing hate speech, and I'm not. Before I go any further, we're about to go on Instagram. I scouted out a little rabbit hole we're going to go down very efficiently, and we're going to try to dodge stuff that we can't show. We're going to show some stuff that's weird and wild, but there's some stuff that I know exists, and I know where it's at, that we can't show, and that I would refuse to show anyways. I carefully scouted it out right before the broadcast, and we're going to go through it right now. But like I said, I don't hate any of these people. I love, and you won't want to believe it, but please believe it. I love every person that we're about to look at right now. Alright, like a brother, like a sister, and no, I'm not confused as to which one they are. Right? But we're talking about Instagram, and we're talking about it on previous live streams, and I mentioned that for those who don't know, yeah, people get banned off of Instagram. Yeah, sometimes they don't even know why. Yeah, it's all due to algorithms and robots and stuff like that. Yeah, you're not going to be able to complain to anybody really. Yeah, you're going to have to create new accounts and get backdoor deals and stuff if you want to get back on your dang social media. Right? But meanwhile, they screwed you for no reason, and there is no recourse. Right? But at the same time, Instagram, there's all sorts of things on Instagram, to include like positive things, like this guy from South Africa. He's walking from, I believe, Austin, Texas, if I recall correctly, somewhere in Austin or somewhere in Texas, all the way to Washington, D.C. He's carrying a flag. He's walking there on behalf of people in South Africa. Shout out to the people of South Africa. Shout out to the people all over the place, no matter what your skin color is. But if you're being persecuted for whatever your skin color is, and whatever your ancestors might have done back in the day, that's kind of messed up. And I speak out against that. No matter what you look like, if you already have resources, they want to take them away because they're communist. That's actually evil. And even if your people back in the day did conquer people and this and that, well, whatever, it's water under the bridge. They conquered people. My ancestors did not conquer hardly anything at all. All right, so good on your people. Y'all conquered some stuff. I don't see why your ancestors would make you guilty of anything. That doesn't make any sense. All right, so positive vibes to everybody in South Africa and everywhere else. There's conflict going on, and there's progress being made all over the world. Shout out to everybody. And shout out to, the people who we call our enemies sometimes, doing weird, wild stuff. Like, here's a dude, for example. That's Ken Kardashian. I don't know. See, that's not part of the rabbit hole. Just to give you an example, Ken Kardashian, we weren't even going to talk about this person today. But if you hear this person talk, they would sound very familiar. They would sound just like so many other people, exact clone of so many other people who are actually on YouTube who do the same exact thing. To basically flit around all day and put on makeup and pretend to be like of a slutty nature, I guess. Pretty much. I mean, you're not missing anything by not hearing Ken Kardashian. I don't know if anybody would actually want to hear him. I don't know that I do. I mean, it's real quick. Hold on, let me see. It's real quick. Hopefully, this is off of TikTok. Let's see if we can hear it. God, damn it.
Ay, un maricón, qué asco.
I don't. I don't know what the heck. Stop this.
Qué asco.
Stop it. Alright, people are wilding out on TikTok, dude. People are on drugs for real. Alright? It's okay. But anyways, I was figuring out how to officially go through and show you. I've been mentioning, and a lot of people already know, that you go on Instagram, like I said, and find a world of perversion. Just an unending sea of different people who are disgruntled and have something wrong with their brains. Something went mishmash in their brains, and it's really sincerely a problem that needs to be addressed. And instead of being addressed, it's being encouraged. You already know that whole thing. I'm not telling you anything new, but I wanted to get a visual of just exactly what I'm talking about, because sometimes it's very hard to even dive into it. It's kind of daunting. Sometimes you wonder, as you're doing research, if you're looking at things that are literally illegal. And like I could, for example, say mini Queen Kiki. Like, for example, I could say that I would want it to be illegal for this to even take place, especially on Instagram. And that's a 9-year-old drag queen, as we talked about earlier in the different various live streams for the people checking out the visual. You got all sort of child's pictures. This is a 9-year-old boy who is a drag queen, and it's very typical. It's very run of the mill. What's funny about it is, like, they're desperate to be unique, but it's like you're coming off the factory line, dude. It's very run of the mill. I see it all the time. It's always the same. You're this girl. You might be, it just, you got sexual vibes coming off you, and I hesitate to even use that word, but that is what you're going for. You know what I'm saying? That is what's being established, a sex worker, if you will. But also a ghoul and a goblin, for example. And it always comes to that. And Halloween is definitely a big thing for these people. Can't wait to be a ghoul and a goblin. They don't even wait for Halloween typically. But the ghoul and the goblin is pretty much the end game. That's what they always wanted to be anyways. They'll start off being this and that and call themselves drag queens and this and that. Oh, look, I'm a lady. And then after a while, I'm a ghoul and a goblin. And why don't I just hang out with your children in the library? Alright, as wild as that sounds, and as simplistic as that sounds, that's the way that it's naturally going. Alright, so it's bad, right? So you go to Instagram, you find, say, a person like this. You don't know how you came across it, but somehow, because they're everywhere. These little, the people on Instagram, and they're all the same and stuff, and you'll see patterns, but you'll accidentally find this 9-year-old, and I was probably looking up, what's the other 9-year-old drag queen? It's like, how many? See, y'all are all 9-year-old drag queens and stuff. You don't see that this come from nowhere. And of course, you don't see it because you're children, but you're being encouraged, obviously, by your parents or guardians, and that is subsequently being encouraged by the rest of society, if in it, by way of just total indifference. All right, like nobody's paying attention to the fact is that this is what y'all are doing openly, and all sort of sinister events have occurred on the internet, in which it's well documented that these drag queens, little 9-year-old drag queens, are hanging out with serial murderers who are well documented not serial murderers, but heinous murderers, like axe murderers, hanging out with those sort of people doing drugs, and who's to say you're getting dollar bills thrown at you in a strip club like sense, and every child drag queen is involved in that sort of thing these days, right? So. All right, to finally wind it down in the last 5 minutes, let's go down this rabbit hole if you're ready. And it's just an example, and you'll find that you could go through it all day and all night, and you could get addicted to seeing, maybe not addicted, but you want to know. You'll start wanting to find out. I would say take it a little bit at a time, all right? And that's why we're only going to do a little bit right now. But of course, you can find an endless amount. Just go to the comments, say for this picture in particular, it was the one of Minnie King Quiki being a drag queen ghoul goblin. And then you check out the comments, and then you see who's in the comments. And you go to their Instagram. Lots of times they're going to have an Instagram. And here's a guy that we showed last time on the previous broadcast. You might remember him. We showed him briefly. Like here's there's some pictures, for example, transphobia is a sin. Real briefly, a lot of us already know this. Anger is a sin. Anger, right? So if you have anger, say towards your parents, causes your brain to malfunction. You're going to start cross-dressing. You can't even help it. You don't know it's a spirit that's made a home in you. You don't know how to operate. It's operating through you. Transphobia is not hardly a thing. So it's not a sin. Anger is a sin, right? Quite simply, somebody could solve his problem by just being, truthful, and I'm sure all sort of people are truthful to him. But I want to check out, like, say, the comments, for example. Check out this one comment. Way down here at the bottom, it says, this 100 arrow says, I agree. Even ageism. I try not fall into gender roles because it all what you want, see? Or make stuff. Keep being you, you're cute. And when you go through the comments and stuff, these sort of deals, you're going to find all sort of illiteracy, number one. And number two, like, just total encouragement. Like, oh, I love it. It's so cute. Yes, queen. Oh, you slay and you do this and that. And you're going to find that all over the place, all right? And so I just wanted to take a look at that comment in particular. But there's another person who I spoke about on a previous broadcast. And I really briefly spoke about them, but I didn't put them on, the live stream because I couldn't find them at the time. And before I unveil this person, as if you're not seeing already what's bad enough, this person's bad, and you're not seeing. Look, you're not seeing everything right now, all right? And we don't have time. But there's another person who I talked about earlier. And I described it as an Indian person. Not Indian from India, but like Native American Indian type of a person. And ever since then, I gotta understand that, this is the worst. If you had to have a worst, as far as, not to put them down, we love everybody. I love everybody, all right? Established that, but it's the worst, say, transgender. Some transgenders are, say, passable. The word's passable than other transgenders. Everybody knows that. You've seen 7-foot-tall transgenders, linebackers, if you will, and you're like, oh yeah, that's not believable at all. You've seen some transgenders who will actually fool you in public and stuff, and you might for a second be like, oh yeah, that's a lady, of course that's a lady, and then you take another look and you're like, oh wait, I don't know if that's a lady. See, everybody knows about that, right? The very worst has to be this, what we're about to look at. Alright, so without further ado, go to this person, Azul, who left a comment of all sort of encouragement to that young boy who has to be a minor, and just even all sort of encouragement for him. And it's like, it's bad because you realize that this person is actually very old. If I had to guess, like in their 50s or closing in on their 50s, this person, like a Native American Indian, and on Instagram, posting all sort of like different, look, check out this picture. It's just about flowers and stuff. Oh, real sweet. Oh, so gentle. Princess. Oh, it's just, adorable pictures, positivity. Everybody enjoying themselves. And then you check that out. All right, see, we're about to close out the show, but before we do, trust me, it's going to get a little bit more wild than this. So if this makes you feel queasy, this makes you feel squeamish at all, we're not hating on these people, but look at this. Look at this. All right. And so, there's going to be like some pictures of flowers and stuff, and trust me, it's going to get worse. I'm going to do a little bit of scrolling, and we're going to find out just how worse it gets. There's another one. Oh, you're a classy lady. Look, you're in your traditional, like Hawaiian garb or something like that. Oh, you're such a classy lady. Like, and doing all this positive stuff. Oh, look at you. You're being a little bit seductive. You're being a little bit sassy today, huh? And it's like, oh, you keep doing this sort of stuff, right? You see a kind of a pattern. But there's also like little stuff these people will go and try and sneak in on you, like spontaneous. Like, they'll have these pictures in which they're comfortable and like, oh, look at my pearl necklace. Oh, look at me, fancy lady. They'll have like different propaganda. I don't know. I guess that's in Spanish. To be like, oh, look at me, I'm a lady. Everything's very feminine. You got flowers, and then, oh man, like I don't want to just dive into it like it's a cold pool, I want to dip my toes into it, but look, we're about to start seeing the kind of weird, wild stuff. I don't know if this would get you banned off YouTube, but it's certainly on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I'm not looking at it right now. If you're listening to my voice, trust me, I'm not even looking at the screen right now. But I wanted to let you know that this exists. This is out there, and it's rampant. And they don't believe in age boundaries anyways. And it always leads to this, without exception, right? And they try to sneak it in like, okay, now you can look at the screen. There's a nice picture that they're uploading all these pictures. Oh, look, it's so nice. We're having a wonderful day. Delightful vibes and stuff. And then, yeah, that's that again, all right? And this might be illegal. You might be looking away from the screen as I am right now. Pretty much embarrassed. And that's what this person does. This is the tip of the iceberg. Like I said, it's kind of the worst of the worst. Here's the thing. If you wanted to check this person out on Instagram, I did not show you the worst. Right? And we don't have time for it. I don't want to get into the worst. I specifically did not look at all this person's pictures. Azul 1101, I didn't look at all their pictures on purpose because I know, for example, there's a picture or two in their archive that I would deem illegal and put someone in jail for doing, if in fact they did it and being involved in something like this. Right? I'm not gonna flag it because I don't want to get involved in it, but you see it. You already see what it is, and it could very well be illegal. But the thing is, it's made ambiguous as to what it is and what isn't illegal. They try to sneak it in their Instagrams. They can't help it because they're controlled by demons and ghouls and goblins. Anyways, y'all, that's about as much time as we got right now. But of course, man, I appreciate all y'all, and I saw y'all up in the comments. We got Brenda. I appreciate you, Brenda. Bart Fine. Shout out to him. Keith Hatch. Oh, I just puked in my mouth just some. I'm sorry about that, but sometimes I gotta make you puke in your mouth if that's what it takes. All right. But it's because I'm only recently becoming aware of this. I knew about that this stuff probably went on, but I never knew it by seeing it. Yes, this is what happens. This is where it goes. And so when I see that, I'm extra motivated to never accept anything going that direction. All right, if you give a moose a muffin, that moose is going to want blackberry jam, and you got to know it. All right, it blows my mind. Anyways, shout out to Brenda, shout out to Keith Hatch. Actually, I saw Keith Hatch's comments earlier, and good comments, and I want to respond to them, but I forgot about them. Power packed episode today, and we're gonna have to maybe do one tomorrow or the next day. And I want to talk more about Keith Hatch's comments. Trust me, I'm going to talk about them in a good way, man. I appreciate the comments, and I'm going to talk about those sort of things and all sort of other things on the next broadcast. I appreciate you, Bart Fine, Matrix Mark. Just a lot of people out there, and it's just a never-ending list of people out there I appreciate. And y'all know who you are and stuff. It's February the 7th, 2020, and I appreciate y'all. It's like a teamwork effort. I want to harness my energy with y'all and stuff, and we'll be on a journey together. And I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.